that Colombia has agreed to terms with the U.S., including accepting migrants from that country back on U.S. military flights. All this after President Trump announced those new tariffs and sanctions on Colombia for not accepting them. Now, just moments ago, the Colombian government announced it has come to an agreement with the U.S. And again, there will be that meeting between the two countries in the coming days.
On Trump dealing with a lot of the Colombian migrants.
And I'm Tanya Rivero. Earlier today, President Donald Trump announced that he would slap a 25% tariff on all imports from Colombia. The move came after Colombia refused to accept 2 U.S. military planes deporting migrants. But in a statement just moments ago, the White House now says Colombia has agreed to all of Mr. Trump's terms. Colombia's government says it reached an agreement with the U.S. and a diplomatic meeting will take place in the coming days.
Meanwhile, today, Border Czar Tom Homan joined federal law enforcement agents in Chicago, where officials say they conducted targeted operations. In fact, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested nearly 1,000 people today, with operations in Los Angeles, Atlanta, and Omaha, Nebraska as well.
And as the enforcement ramps up, Homan has a stark warning to undocumented migrants. He told ABC's Martha Raddatz on This Week, quote, "If you are in the country illegally, you got a problem." Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon is in the newsroom with the latest developments. Sonia.
Yeah, Tanya and Joe, the White House press.
Let's just stop this right here. Let's stop this right here. Think about this. Trump, when I talk about leveraging American power, a lot of people, and I know a lot of people are on both sides of the migrant issue until something happens to you or until it negatively affects you. Cool. If our country is so horrible, for the people that think the country is horrible, for the people that don't think that America is the greatest country in the world, for the people that don't think that America has ever been great, if our country is not there, do we think that it's going to get better? Do we think that a lot of these impoverished communities are going to get better when you put a whole bunch of migrants in these countries and incentivize them to come there illegally, and then your city becomes a sanctuary city? And what we're going to hear Mayor Eric Adams talk about in a few is the fact that how that destroys a lot of the resources, takes a lot of the resources away from the actual communities, these communities that are already living in poverty. So what does Trump do? Trump says, hey, we're sending these migrants back to the country that they're from. What does the Colombia president say? You're not sending them back. Doesn't let the planes land. Didn't let 2 planes land. So what does Donald Trump do? He says, okay, if you don't let those planes land, if you don't take back these migrants, we're going to put 25% or whatever amount of tariffs he said on your products that are coming in. What did the president of Colombia say? He tried to let his hang, and he tried to push back and say, okay, well, we'll put 50% on America. Within hours, that Colombia president agreed to all the demands of Donald Trump based on what I'm hearing and what's being reported in the news. Not only did they agree to all of the demands of Donald Trump, but he's actually, the Colombia president is now sending their plane over to come get them. And he's trying to hide behind, yeah, well, we just wanted them coming back with dignity. No, bruh. You tried to flex your leverage and you got outflexed. Your muscles were not big enough. You tried to flex against America. And what did Donald Trump do? He used his leverage. Now, this is why Donald Trump always talks about these tariffs and how important they are. Think about it from this standpoint, going a little bit left. How does the country make money? Our country's in debt, right? So how does our country make money? Our country makes money by either the government, I'm talking about, taxing the citizens, which is just taking money out of our pockets, or competing in the market. And if they're competing in the market, that means they're competing against American citizens. The other way that they make money is through tariffs, through holding other countries accountable and demanding them to pay a certain amount by allowing their products to come in America. Now, when that country has high tariffs that come in here, what is that going to do? That's going to do a few things. For one, it may push us to, it may raise a lot of their prices. They may try to charge more, but hopefully that will encourage Americans to have more jobs in America, to develop a lot of these companies in America. Things may cost more when you put a lot of these tariffs on these countries. Things may cost more. but let's make American products seem more competitive. Let's make the American products become more competitive. Let the American businesses become more competitive. We talk about raising wages. How can we raise wages if other countries are able to sell their products at a much cheaper price than us because they're getting the cheaper labor? We're not relying on American companies. So I know there's a lot to that, and hopefully I didn't explain it wrong, but hopefully you kind of understand what I'm saying. This is just another example of Donald Trump leveraging the tariffs in order to fix a problem that I think a lot of us can acknowledge. Even if you take away your affiliation and allegiance to the Democratic Party, I think even a lot of Democrats can acknowledge has become a problem. And the reason why a lot of Democrats may not acknowledge that it's become a problem is because a lot of you Democrats don't live in the cities that are being impacted by a lot of these migrants coming in. You're not living in these impoverished communities. So this is what happens when we see with a lot of Democratic politicians. They want the migrants to come in to live in these cities. We're sanctuary cities. They're not living in the neighborhood that you live in. They're not living in the neighborhoods that you live in. That's why you don't care. They're coming into Chicago. They're coming into New York. They're coming into a lot of these impoverished areas. And luckily, there's a mayor like Mayor Eric Adams that stands up against a lot of this stuff and is willing to call it out for whatever reason. I'm not saying that his reasons for doing it are just, he's the most virtuous. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's doing it because he has such a moral compass and so much integrity. I don't know, but I am glad that he's actually acknowledging it and putting it out there. Let's continue for a little bit. Then we'll get into J.D. Vance and Mayor Eric Adams.
Press Secretary in just the last hour announced that Colombia has agreed to terms with the U.S., including accepting migrants from that country back on U.S. military flights. All this after President Trump announced those new tariffs and sanctions on Colombia for not accepting them. Now, just moments ago, the Colombian government announced it has come to an agreement with the U.S. And again, there will be that meeting between the two countries in the coming days. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's border czar is defending those latest ICE raids and deportation efforts, saying those in the country illegally who've committed crimes will be treated as threats to national security.
So we've already seen a lot of that, on the deportation. We heard from Tom Homan in the video with Dr. Phil. Let's move on. I want to touch on the J.D. Vance interview. It's Dak. Just want to thank you for checking out our video and visiting the OG Network. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure that you give us a like. And if you're looking to join a community of inspired individuals striving for purposeful abundance, subscribe. And if you're feeling real